John Bolton, U.S. National Security Advisor. Great to have you on the couch, sir.
Glad to be back with you.
Your life used to be so simple. You used to come on, have a few comments, and got to go home. What's changed?
Well, this time it really matters. It's not my opinions that I'm talking about. It's the president's. I like to say I'm the National Security Advisor. I'm not the National Security Decision Maker.
That's right. You know, in that soundbite from last year, that's when the president referred to Kim Jong-un as a little rocket man. We haven't heard much of him referring to him as that anymore. Why is that?
Well, I think because the president's policy of economic pressure through sanctions and military pressure brought Kim Jong-un to the table. They had a historic summit in Singapore. Kim Jong-un pledged there and elsewhere to denuclearize North Korea, and that's what we're working on.
Are you worried that North and South Korea are moving forward towards not unification, but towards their agreement, maybe leaving us out?
Well, President Trump and South Korean President Moon Jae-in will meet today. They'll talk about the results of President Moon's meeting with Kim Jong-un in Pyongyang last week. We have always tried to stay as close as we can to our allies in South Korea, and we just need to keep our focus on denuclearization as the priority. That's priority 1, 2, and 3 for us.
Does South Korea believe that?
That's what President Moon has committed to President Trump several times.
Great.
Over the weekend, we watched the dials on President Trump's rally that he had in Missouri, and when he said, "I'm the president of the United States, not the president of the world," Republicans went nuts. What will we be hearing from him? Is he going to double down on the America First message?
Well, I just wish I had thought of that line before he delivered it, because I think it really sums up in many respects what the president's policy is focused on. He looks out after the best interest of the American people. They're the ones who elected him. They're the ones he's responsible to. And I think in his speech to the General Assembly on Tuesday, his speech to the Security Council on Wednesday, he's going to try and explain that in respect of a number of things: interference in American politics, interference in our trade relations, how the U.S. exerts sovereignty. And let's be clear what we mean by sovereignty. We mean the voice of the people of the United States being exercised through the Constitution. In America, we the people are sovereign, and I don't think the president wants anybody to forget that.
What is the difference between the President Donald Trump, who's going to appear tomorrow, as opposed to the man who was there in the Great Hall last year?
Well, I think he's got another year of accomplishments under his belt. I think one of the most significant things he did was get out of the wretched Iran nuclear deal. He campaigned against it in 2016. He said it was the worst.
You love that he did that.
Fantastic. Glad to be part of it. But he's absolutely right. It's the worst diplomatic deal in American history. We've put sanctions back on, more sanctions coming back on in November. We'll find other sanctions to put on as well, to pressure the Iranian government to change its behavior. And not just their nuclear weapons program, but their ballistic missile program and their militaristic activity across the Middle East, in Iraq, in Syria, Lebanon, Yemen. They're a real threat, and the president's dealing with it.
So there was an attack at their parade, and they're blaming us and the Gulf states for that attack. But in reality, they've had a lot of unrest because the people of Iran are getting a little upset that they're not seeing in this revenue. Even when the deal was signed, that was supposed to come cascading in as world investment went to Iran.
Well, they did get, $120, $150 billion courtesy of the Obama administration, which there's no doubt they applied to terrorism and their nuclear program. They're involved now in a very difficult situation in Syria, very dangerous. Just last week, the Syrians shot down a Russian plane after Israel went after Iranian military forces in Syria. A lot of people in very close proximity. Israel just trying to defend itself, and now Russia's torqued this up again, accusing Israel of being responsible. So you see the problem. Israel's responsible. The United States is responsible. Never Russia, never Iran. You can see what's wrong with that picture.
Ambassador Nikki Haley was on one of the Sunday shows yesterday responding to the U.S. and other nations being blamed for that, and here's what she had to say.
Every conflict that we have, we see Iran's fingerprints, whether it's in Yemen, whether it's in Iraq, whether we're looking at what's happening in Syria. I think what Rouhani needs to do is he needs to look at his own home base. He's got the Iranian people are protesting. Every ounce of money that goes into Iran goes to his military. He has oppressed his people for a long time. I think the Iranian people have had enough, and that's where all of this is coming from. But having said that, he can blame us all he wants. The thing he's got to do is look in the mirror.
What do you think?
Well, I think that's exactly right. But none of this would have happened, really, unless the president had gotten out of the nuclear deal and reimposed sanctions. If the deal had continued, there would have been a flood of additional investment into the country, and the regime would have been protected. I think they're on a very short leash right now. I think the people are decidedly unhappy. We want to work with our European friends and others to continue to put pressure on them.
Absolutely.
They keep talking about what's happening in the administration as chaos, that Mattis is on the way out. The president doesn't have dinner with him anymore. The Secretary of State is closer than Tillerson. But I also have reports, and not from you, that you, Mattis, and Pompeo have been conferring in a very tight unit and do mirror the president's thoughts. Where's the reality? You've been in other administrations.
Yeah, I mean, the three of us have breakfast once a week if we're all in town. We try and work out differences. I would say it's fair that we're three strong personalities. I think that's what the president needs to give him advice. The president's the ultimate decision maker, and our job is to give him advice and then carry out his policies. That's what we're doing.
The president of the United States is going to be over at the General Assembly today doing what?
Well, there's going to be a conference that we've organized with the United Nations on opioids. It's obviously a huge problem in the United States, and I think what the president's going to try and do today is rally international support, because much of this problem is international. If you look at fentanyl, for example,
China,
which by the way is a prohibited chemical weapon under the Chemical Weapons Convention, apart from being an opioid, the vast bulk of it in the United States, we believe, comes from China. So if you worry about China's role in the world, you can start right here at home with the opioid crisis.
They say that they're taking us on economically. They broke off talks and military face-to-face talks. Where are we at with the China relationship? And are you okay with the fact that we're calling them out on trade and military aggression, as well as their expansionism throughout Asia?
I think this is long overdue. I think we're suffering now from years of inaction in the Obama administration. The due bills are coming due. And I think the president's doing exactly the right thing. China has abused the international trade system for decades, ever since it got into the World Trade Organization, has not played by the rules. And it's just simply wrong to say, oh, well, they're not playing by the rules. I guess we'll let them get away with it. That's not for this president. And so he's put it to China very directly. I think they're confused. I don't think they know what to do. They haven't seen an American president stand up to them like this in recent years. And I think if there's any way to bring them to their senses and make them play by the rules they voluntarily agreed to, this is the way to do it.
Taking the rest of the day off?
Yeah, I think I'm done for the day now.
All right. It's a good luck alert day here in New York City. So
yeah,
good luck getting 5 blocks across Midtown.
Exactly.
All right. Oh, he could probably get across weekend.
Exactly.
Oh, we're the problem. He's got his team
There they are
behind
right
Joel.
there.
All right. Ambassador, thank you very much.
Always glad to be here.